Today we have a very special guest. It's actually a legend from New York. This is an actor that I've been watching since I was a little girl. Literally one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it's everybody's favorite movie. From the Bronx Tale, Lillo Brancato.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Maya. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I can't thank you enough, honestly.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on the show.
All right, so for everybody watching, please tell everybody where you're from in New York and
I live in Yonkers, New York. Came here when I was like 4 months old, and I've been here ever since.
from Italy or
No, no, no. Actually, I'm South American. I'm Colombian.
oh
I was.
shit.
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No,
Yeah,
I swear
yeah,
to God, I didn't know.
yeah, yeah. I was adopted when I was 4 months old. I was in an orphanage in Bogota, and my Italian parents, they are immigrant. My dad passed away, but they're Italian immigrants, and they wanted a child. They conceived, but then they miscarried, and they tried for so many more years, were unsuccessful. Then went to adopt, and like I said before, back in the day, it wasn't like someone could send you a picture on your phone. Nah, I don't like this one. So my mom had to like make a lot of phone calls, and she was like sending out letters to different adoption, orphanages and places, whatever, to see different pictures of babies. And then when she saw me, she said, "That's the baby that I wanted." And here I am.
She just felt it like when she seen you.
Yeah, yeah.
What was it like growing up with them?
Oh, it was great. I also have a brother, Vincent, who is their biological son. He and I are 9 months apart, Vinny and I.
Did
So
they
I
have
was
him after they adopted you?
right. So it's like very psychological because for all those years, I guess there was so much stress and pressure to have and to be able to conceive. So I guess the whole psychological component played such a big part that it was blocking it from happening. But then once that psychological part left, because now we have a baby, he's coming, and the paperwork went through and all of that. Then they were pregnant with my brother. So when I was to be picked up from the orphanage, obviously somebody had to come there to get me, but my mom was pregnant with my brother. So she didn't want to fly or anything. So my uncle Frank, my mother's youngest brother, he came to get me in an orphanage in Bogota, Colombia. And he tells me the story that when he first went there, they wanted to give him a little girl. And he was like, "No, no, my sister wanted a boy. That's not the right baby." So I
Yeah.
don't even know if I am, but yeah, no. So that's the story. That's how that happened.
That's beautiful. I think she was
Yeah,
probably stressed out. So when you were coming, it's like that stress kind of went away. And
absolutely.
then you
Yeah,
got to have a sibling. That's dope.
yeah, yeah. My mom used to dress us up the same. We were like Irish twins. I don't know if you know what that is. We were like Irish twins. So if you see pictures of us when we were babies, we always had like the same outfit on and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. Did you do a lot of Italian things growing up, or did they try to kind of do Colombian stuff,
no,
or
no, no, it was all Italian. That's all they
yeah,
know. They wouldn't be able to teach me something that they didn't know. But I grew up very Italian, where we made the tomato sauce in the summer. We had the parties, But Latinos are like that too, though. They have the big parties, like they're loud, just like the Italians and stuff like that. So you know what I mean. But that's what it was like. I grew up, like my mom's Calabrese, my dad was Sicilian, so that's like kind of different, even though they're Italian, but it's from like very different parts and they're very different people. So it was like almost growing up in two different cultures and learning two different cultures because of how different Sicilians are from other Italians.
what's the difference?
Well, Sicilians, Sicilians were invaded over the years, and like there was like many different countries have invaded Sicily, and the word mafia, mafia started in Sicily, obviously, but there was a particular incident where a girl was being raped, and like how you say, and you speak Spanish?
No, I speak Russian.
Oh yeah. Oh okay. Well, in Spanish, it's mi hija. Mi hija is my daughter.
Yeah.
In Italian, it's mia figlia. But in Sicilian, it's mafia. So that's where the word mafia, mafia. The girl was getting raped, and the mother was
Oh,
screaming, mafia, mafia, because Sicily was always invaded. So that's how it started. And when she said mafia, a lot of other Sicilians, this is what I heard, and I believe it to be true. They went to her rescue, but it started off as something innocent and just to help other Sicilians. and that's where the word mafia came from. When the lady was screaming "mafia," my daughter.
Yeah.
So, and Italians, like like the Italians from like northern Italy, they're more like with their noses up in the air, and they kind of look down on Sicilians because the Sicilians were perceived as to be more the peasants of the country. But that's just the way it is. Like as you go more, further south in
Yeah.
Italy, it's like you're more perceived as a peasant. But that's just the way it is. But I don't believe that at all. I grew up Sicilian, had a lot of Sicilian relatives. I've been there, and they're very beautiful people, very giving, very good people. So
Yeah. I always thought being Sicilian was meant like you were 100% in the mafia. And
no,
that,
well, it's just that little island, where Italy is, where there's the boot, and then that's that little island. It's Sicilian. It's Sicily, and it's a much different dialect. Like it's a way different language. They don't really speak it anymore there because, like, even me, because I learned the dialect, I speak it pretty well. But like when I speak to my aunts, they look at me like I got three heads. Like, why are you even talking like that anymore? No one even
yeah.
because now there's school. Everyone goes to school and speaks, proper Italian. They read, they write where back in the day it was all about if you had a trade, whether you were a shoemaker, a cobbler, a tailor, a builder, a carpenter. So that's how they survived.
So growing up, what did you want to be?
You know what? I never really thought about it. It wasn't an actor. It really wasn't. I never really thought of that. I mean, I always made my family laugh. They always asked me to do like impersonations, like my aunts and uncles, because I was able to impersonate other relatives. So I would make them laugh. But as far as being an actor, I guess the whole notion of it was kind of blocked in my mind because it's like it doesn't happen to like some average everyday person you know what I mean? That you
Yeah.
become an actor and stuff like that. So I guess I had that mental block that I would never become this. So I never wanted to be it because I just thought it was like out of my reach. You get what I'm saying? So I never
Yeah.
really thought about it. But then, with the Bronx Tale, obviously they discovered me on the beach. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was a, I was already a Robert De Niro fan at that point because like someone told me I looked like him. I was working at a florist. Some guy was like, "Hey, you look like De Niro," and I was like 14, and I never heard that before. So I went home, I found out who he was, and I started studying his movies. And I was really like, I loved him as an actor. I was like, wow, this guy's got some screen presence. He was great. So then I like tried to impersonate him. I would grow my hair like raging, like Cape Fear. I would do scenes with my brother and stuff. And then when they found me that day on the beach, it was like it was almost like it was meant to be. It was like all that stuff that I was doing with my brother, just kidding around, being De Niro. It was almost like preparation for that day on the beach because the
Yeah.
guy was handing out flyers to my friends. Because like where we hung out on the beach, Jones Beach, Section 4 in Long Island, that's all Italians. Like that was all Italian, section of the beach. So the guy knew
Yeah.
because they were looking for like unknown actors, like an amateur, like to play for the
That's crazy that
authenticity.
they spotted you because Jones Beach is huge. Like people
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know how big it is. So for them
yeah.
to spot you, that's like it really was meant to be.
Well, my brother got me out of the water. I was in the water. The guy was handing out the flyers. He saw my friends sitting on the towels on the floor. We had our little section. So he was handing out the flyers, and my brother saw it, and he said, hold on, I'll go get my brother," because he knew I loved De Niro, and he knew I used to do the impersonations. So when that guy saw me, I knew that was my shot. I can't fold up now. So I started doing, like De Niro impersonations and stuff like that. And the guy was very interested. He liked it, and then he invited me to the Bronx where they had the Playhouse to read the scene when I was shaving. But in the original script, De Niro was shaving, and I approached him to ask him about, hey, Dad, about the girl and stuff like that. Um, so then when, like he was excited, I could see the guy liked me. So all of those years, mentally blocking myself from thinking this could actually happen, all of that changed because I could see the way the guy was like, oh my God, that was great. So then I was started, like I was like, wow, maybe I do have something. Not that I was the greatest thing in the world, but maybe I do have something. So
Yeah.
and then, he liked me, put me on tape. This was when it was VHS. I was working in a law office. I got a call the next day, and they wanted to meet me down in New York City, De Niro's office, and not him yet, but it was the people down there. And I went down, and it was a lot of people reading for that part. And then I got a call back the next day, and as I went, there was less people every day, to the point where it was just me. So I knew I was doing something right. So it was, and then it turned out to be then I met De Niro, and we were working together, and you know, he definitely was taking a liking to what I was doing and the ability, the natural ability that I had. So it got to a point where we did what's called a screen test, where they put you on film, because film is different. Film is just not, it's like a phone camera. It's different. It registers things. Like when you do something big, it's even bigger. So that's why on film, less is more. So he wanted to see how what I was doing would translate on film, because it may be different than what he thought. But then it turned out it was me against the kid that shot Sonny at the end of the movie. Remember that kid?
Yeah. Oh, he almost played that part?
Yeah, it was me against him. It was me
Wow.
against him, but he was 21 and I was 16. So I was much younger. The movie would have been different. Not that I don't think he's a good actor, or I think he's great. He's still my boy. His name is Phil Garbarino. And he's my boy, but I just think that the movie works better with a kid that's younger, because he's more impressionable. Because at 21, may have already made the decision, I don't want to be like Sonny. I would rather be like my father. And at 21, you're more confident in the direction in which you're going. 16, you're not there yet. You don't have any experience. So to me, the story works better with a young kid, a 16-year
Yeah.
old, because you don't know. He's being like torn from two ways. His father's pulling him and Sonny's pulling him. And at 16, that makes sense, because you just don't have the experience to navigate life the right way, to where you don't know, is this the right way? Is this the right way? Probably not, but I don't know. I got to see and find out for myself. And that's usually how we learn, right? We
Yeah.
get burned or something happens, and then we learn the hard way. But it doesn't always
Yeah,
have to be
16,
like
we're
that.
just starting out. We need guidance. At 21, we think we know it all, but we don't know shit yet. So,
Yeah, but yeah, you're absolutely right. But the whole fact, and the whole idea that you think you know everything, it just changes. It would have changed the movie. I
yeah, the
think it would
movie
have
would have
made it.
not been the same at all.
It would have been a little different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because at 21, he would have already, like, if he would like at 21, if he decided to like be with Sonny, he could have been with him for real. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Not just something where he could have been one of his guys at 21. With 16, it's not there yet. I don't know.
No, I thought it was perfect. It was like he's young, so he comes in just to clean up the shop, just to be around, and it's like he grew up in it. A
Right.
21-year-old kid coming in just to work with him, it would have been completely different.
Right. It would have been different kind of work, because you would have looked at a kid that age like, maybe he could be one of us, and maybe I could trust him, and maybe I could groom him in a different way. Where Sonny didn't try that with him at 16. He just said, he did tell De Niro, I tell that kid to go to school, to go to college. And then De Niro said, it's not what you say, it's what he sees. It's the cars, it's the clothes, it's the money, it's everything. It doesn't matter what you say to him. He's a 16-year-old kid. And all this stuff that he's seeing is impressionable. Who doesn't want that at 16? The big Cadillacs. You could be telling whatever, but what he's seeing is something that's very seductive. It's a very seductive lifestyle that a little kid, like, just that dopamine rush that he's going to get from seeing all this stuff, it's going to imprint the memory in his brain, and then he's going to want it all the time. And then he's going to drift further and further away from his father and everything his father's trying to teach him. And that's why De Niro was like, stay away from my son. I understand you're saying the right things, but that's not enough. It's what he sees is what's really, you know, making his brain, and wiring it in a way which this kind of lifestyle, he may like it. That's why I got to get him out of there. So I think it was beautiful. Like, the older the film gets, and the more I talk about it, well, first of all, the older the film gets, the further away I become and am from Calogero. I'm 49 years old. You know what I mean? That character was 16 years old. So even for like maybe 10 years after watching it, you still see yourself, the person that you are in that kid. So you watch it more to critique your acting, and like, shit, I could have did that better, or I could have did that. Where now I no longer, it's really like I'm bald, I had hair. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a whole different thing. So now when I watch it as a film, and everything that Robert De Niro tried to do with the camera and the way the story was told. And it's a really, really beautiful movie. It really is. I mean, De Niro's character, because we're always so used to seeing him play that tough guy, but he was so great. Like, he was still tough, but he was a different kind of tough. And the way he played that father, a lot, to me, that role that he played as Lorenzo, That was one of his own most underrated roles. I don't think because the movie itself gets a lot of credit, and Chaz, he was great, but I don't think De Niro gets enough credit for playing that hardworking bus driver father who's trying to instill the right things in his son. I think it was beautiful, and Chaz was great because you never seen him before. So here's this new actor, and usually when you were seeing like wise guys on film, they were always like bigger, chubby, right, with the thing. But now you got this whole skinny guy with the slick back. You never seen a gangster like that. So here's like this fresh face, and De Niro. He's always playing a tough guy, well, a lot. You know what I mean? He's not that he's always playing that, but he was more known for that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So now you got him playing this, so it may as well not even be him. It's like a different actor because he was so good in that role. Like he was totally convincing. And then Chaz, it's just everything happened at the right time. Everybody was the right age at the right time to come together. It's like one person less of who was in that film or worked on that film wouldn't be the same. It's everybody, cast, crew, everything that made that film. Everybody's individual contribution in that film made that film as special as it is today. You
Yeah.
know,
There's a reason it's everybody's favorite movie. It's every person's top five movie, no matter what, no matter where they're from. And I think it was literally casted perfectly. Like there's so many lessons in that movie you could take away. Even till this day, I'll literally like do the whole little like door open thing for a guy.
it's
Like and that
yeah,
oh that always gets me some points.
yeah. I like the you know, I like the $20 you got off cheap. I
Oh
like that.
yes. Shit. That's one of my favorites. The door one it helps me more in life though.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm saying that's more like like man and woman, and just to test someone and their character through that something. But the other way, because it's like people like ask people for stuff all the time, and chances are, if somebody asked you for something and they were supposed to give it back to you and they never did, they're never going to ask you again. So in a way, you paid them to go away forever. That's
Yeah.
basically what he's saying. You know what I mean? Like you paid this guy, you got off cheap. You only had to pay 20. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But $20 would translate to a lot more. Now it would probably be over $100 because that was like 1968. But still, that to me is like you never think of it that way. You think the guy's beating you for your money. It depends on the amount of money. If it's an astronomical amount, and then you got to get your money back.
But never let people borrow money unless you never want to see it again. But no,
Yeah,
that is a good lesson. My favorite lesson though, it has to be the working man is a sucker because he's not. The point of that movie, what I took from it is growing up, I always been around like drug dealers and scammers, and I realized, like the guy you end up with, that's not the guy you end up with. You end up with the working man, the guy that goes to a 9 to 5, that's a good man, that comes home, that for dinner, you see him every day. The guy that's flashy, driving the nice cars, got the women, that's not the guy you end up with. So that's what I took from it when I was younger. Um,
yeah. Well, my dad was old school Sicilian. He built houses. I see my father every single day get up and go to work, no matter how cold it was. Like some of the coldest mornings, Saturday I get to sleep in. My dad used to walk in the house. He couldn't even walk his back. Just taking his shoes off every day. So I know firsthand that the working man is not a sucker. The furthest thing from that, and he said it doesn't take much strength to pull the trigger, but try to get up day after day. And I saw that daily grind, for 20, 30 years. And my father, like I said, he worked when it was a million degrees out, when he's construction. He's a builder. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So that movie, I can really appreciate that because that's the kind of relationship I had with my dad. He taught me those things because things in life that give us instant gratification seldom lead to long-term happiness. You know what I mean? Stuff that,
yeah.
like, you know what I mean? You're selling drugs, you're doing whatever you're doing. Yeah, you make instant gratification. Like, yeah, you sold this and you made this much profit instantly. It gives you that instant gratification, but is it going to last? No, it's
No,
the guy that
never.
it's the guy who can, after 30 years of getting up every day, he's finally retired and could say, you know what I mean? I did this, you know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
just like it's just different. It's a
The guy
real
that takes risks every day, you have to wonder if he's even going to come home because that life always ends up in jail or getting killed. And
yeah.
with a working man, he's gonna come home. So it's like you don't have to. It's like what's more important to you, like the flashy shit, or just knowing your man's gonna come home at the end of the day. That's more important than anything.
Yeah,
Having the
of
father of your
course.
kids there.
Well, stability. You want to be stable. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? That stability of a guy, that's gonna, that's gonna come home, every day. Um, and there's a lot to be said for that. And that's not as common as it used to be. You know what I mean? In the
Yeah.
80s, it's just like, but it's just the time we live in. And, I'm not saying anything about it, but it's just a much different world out there now where you're able to achieve things a lot faster, through social media. You get people that know how to work that social media, that Instagram, and could, blow up right away. Whereas, I'm not knocking that. That's a great thing. But it's
Yeah.
just that over the years and working that hard and stuff, it's just, I look at guys like my dad, you know what I mean? Those old school guys, those guys are not around anymore. You know what I mean? Because it's like the struggle, the hunger that they had, it's just, it's just not possible for us living in this country. And, we have it good. You know what I mean? We have it a lot better than they did. So it's just very impossible to recreate, not recreate, but to produce that type of man. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, and the movie also deals with racism. That was a big part of it. So you see this beautiful girl, gorgeous girl, and you fall in love. And it's like, what was it like around that time in real life dealing with racism? Was it that bad, or like where you grew up?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course I've seen racism in my life. And I got to be honest with you, I was a victim of it. You know what I mean? Because you got to understand, I'm Colombian, Latin American, and Italians. But listen, I love Italians, but you know how they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been called a spick before. You know what I mean? Excuse my language, but stuff like
Damn.
that. So I've been a victim. But I'm not trying to say I'm a victim, but I
They'll try
have
to
been a
say you're
victim. I
not a
don't.
real Italian, but it's like that with every nationality. Like Russians, if you're not born in Russia, oh, you're not Russian. If you don't
Yeah.
speak Russian, you're not Russian. It's always like trying to take something from you. Like, oh,
Yeah, because the old school Italians, a lot of them, that's listen, I'm not saying they're bad people because they work and they're, but a lot of them they don't know better. That's just the
yeah,
way they are. And they're great people, but you can't tell somebody something that they are already something different. You can't tell them to be something when they're already something different. They've already been programmed a certain way. You know what I mean? So growing up around that, sometimes it affected me in a negative way. You know what I mean? But I didn't let that stuff get me because I know it's ignorance in a way that it's just a lack of life experience. When you were in one place only with one type of people that told you that this is the way it is, you're not going to know anything different. You know what I mean? So sometimes I don't hold people against it, like certain things against certain people because they didn't know any better. But now it's a different world we live in, and people need to know better because that's just the way it is. You know what I mean?
yeah. So being famous, did that help you when you were locked up, or did that kind of hurt you? You think?
Real quick though, you know how you were saying like about you're not a real Italian, you're not this and that.
Yeah, yeah,
Real quick, one time I was in Rikers Island. This Asian dude, he said something really funny to me, so I want to share it. He said, he goes, you know what you are? He said, you're a can of chili disguised as tomato sauce. That's what he told me. So I just wanted to share that. But now, what we saying in jail, did it help me? It's both ways, because personalities vary. One guy may like you for that, but another guy may want to cut you because of that. So then he could say, oh, yeah, that kid from the Bronx Tale, I cut him.
yeah,
So you know what I mean? It could go either way, but then there's somebody, that may like you for the film or whatever. But I gotta be honest with you, and I'm not bragging, but because of the nature of my case and what it was about, a lot of people respected that, whatever, mentality that is. And
yeah,
not I'm not by any means saying that what I did was cool, because it's not. Someone lost their life. But just because of that whole thing and what it is, a lot of people did respect me just because of that. You know what I mean? Because a
yeah,
lot of people look at it, it's like, that's who put me in jail. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. It
so in
makes
a way,
sense.
yeah, in a way, I didn't like nobody really like not, I didn't really get messed with too much. You know what I mean? I really didn't. People respect it, but I did what I had to do. If I, but but
Which?
go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. Go ahead.
Which prison was it?
Well, I went. Well, first, you go to Rikers. Well, my case was in the Bronx, so we got arrested in the Bronx the night it happened in December of '05. So we went right to Rikers Island because that's New York City jail. So the five boroughs, you get locked up, you go to Rikers.
How
Rikers,
long were you in Rikers? Because Rikers is considered one of the worst places you could literally
it
be in New
is,
York.
yeah, yeah. Rikers Island's a bad place. I was there for 3 years. I was there, from the end of '05, and I left the beginning of '09. So I was there for
Wow.
like 3 years and change, and because I had a co-defendant, and you know, we had separate trials, so it really took a long time. It took a long time, and then I did go to trial in December of 2008. Had a great lawyer, ASAP Rocky's lawyer, the one he just beat the case with,
Yeah. Him?
Tacopina. That was my lawyer, yeah. So
Wow.
I had Joe back in 2008, and it cost me a lot of money, but it was worth it because I'm here. Um, we went to trial. I was acquitted of all the top charges, and then I was found guilty of an attempted burglary in the first degree with serious physical injury. So it was a violent burglary. So they gave me 10 years. So after 3 years in Rikers, because my crime was considered violent. So when it's violent, you get a flat sentence. If it's non-violent, you could get like a 2 to 4, which is considered an indeterminate sentence. But when it's violent, it's a flat, and then you always have post-release supervision on the back. So
Yeah.
I got sentenced to 10 years plus 5 years post-release supervision. So thank God
Wow.
the time in Rikers Island, it counted. You know what I mean? So I already did 3 years. So I was supposed to do 8.5 because you do 85% in a violent crime. So I would have been out 8.5 years. So when I did three, go upstate, I got 5.5 remaining that I'm going to serve if I get my good time. So I went up there. I never, at that point in my life, I never got my, high school diploma because I was acting. I started acting early. Then I'm going out every night doing drugs. So I didn't have my head in school. But now I'm here. Now, now I'm, here. Thank God I could have got 25 to life. So, things, could have turned out worse for me. So I was in, I went upstate, and then I realized, that I got a nice chunk of time here. I got 5.5 years that I got to do. I may as well do something with the time. And that's the most important thing that my advice to give people who are incarcerated. This is God's plan. He put you there for a reason. You know what I mean? It's the Department of Corrections because you needed to correct yourself. And the way that you were living previously, it wasn't working. You were either going to continue to hurt yourself or you're going to hurt someone else. So you got to really realize what the plan is. You know what I mean? That's not a bad thing. Being in jail is not a bad thing. Being in jail is God taking mercy on you and saying, hey, I believe in you. I'm going to put you here instead of, you dying. Because some people, they just they reach a point in their lives where they're no longer an asset to mankind. But sometimes God may see something in someone and say, hey, I know you haven't been making the best choices, but you know what? I know the person you are at the core, and I know you're a good person, and we need to see that person again. All right? So I'm going to send you in this place for, 5, 7 years. Everybody gets the time that God thinks is going to, be enough for them to get their lives straight. And this is the way I've always looked at it. So when I'm doing the time, it wasn't really bothering me because I would call home. My mother would say, hey, Richie Garfier, he died. Wow, overdose. Oh my God. A week later, oh, Lilo, I just found out your friend Jimmy died of an overdose. Oh my God. A month later, Anna's son Angelo, he died of an overdose. So I'm hearing all these people dying. My friends, these are people that I knew. And I used to hang out with them and we used to run together. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that could have been me. But like I'm in a place where God took me away from that. So jail's not a bad thing. And I follow this rabbi on Instagram, and he was talking about there's no such thing as chaos. Your life is never in chaos. It's maybe a certain place to get you where, everything is planned out. It's all happening. I mean, I know that's cliche, but
No,
just
I
the way,
believe in that. I think everything, like my parents always tell me, you're gonna miss out on your fate. I'm like, you can't miss your fate. God already pre-planned everything. So,
pre-planned, but I think,
but
but
you
I,
could still change it, like the butterfly
right, right,
effect. Like if I do something that I wasn't supposed to do, it's
right.
gonna change everything.
Right? There's different options. This is ideally where we want you to end up. If you make these choices, I know you're going to make a couple of bad ones on the way, but we're going to always get you back on track as long as you know and recognize the signs of why I put certain things certain places, and that's for you to navigate the right way based on the experience that you have in the life you've lived, in the free will in which I gave you. And with that free will, there's consequences. You do what you want, but then, different choices lead to different outcomes. So you're right. If you mess up the plan, or you're going to end up in different places. But you got to make the most of the time. Time is something you never get back. You could have just lost, $20 million in an investment. 2 days later, you make a good investment. You can make that money back and even more, right? Say if your shirt got ruined out some party, somebody spilled some wine on your white shirt. What happens? You go buy another one, right? You got the shirt. But when you lose that time, you never get it back. And if you're just sitting in jail or prison for that many years and nothing to show for it, that's on you. You were supposed to do something there where you probably wouldn't have done with the distractions of the outside life. When you're in there, there's nothing really to distract you. You're doing time. You know what I mean? So it's, like within those parameters, in those confines, there's still things that you can do to better your life. You know what I mean? That's why I
Yeah.
took up praying. It's like the trinity of strength, mentally, spiritually, physically. I was working out every day. I went to school. I paid for it out of my own pocket. I got a 2-year degree, an associate's degree in business. I got off drugs. Like I really did a lot with that time because I
Yeah.
thought to myself, what the hell how am I going to feel about myself when I get home? And I did that all that time and I did nothing with it. But now that I'm home, like having an education is very important. My mom always told me that, and she always stressed that. And you should be like your cousin, and you should be like, and like when you're out there, wilding out and stuff like that, you don't listen to that kind of stuff, and you shrug it off. Oh, I don't need an education. Look at this guy. He did this without an education. Yeah, he may have done that, and that's great. And more power to people that are able to do that. But not everyone is. And having an education can never ever hurt you after your health, because if you have that, you can know everything, but it's not going to you're going to die because you don't have your health. So you take care of your health first, but then your education is like the second best investment in life, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the things that, because it's not like if you have something weighing heavy on your mind and something you're stressed out about, when you're in the real world, you could go for a ride, you could go get ice cream, you could do a lot of things, right, to take your mind off that. But when you're in there, you really can't. There's really not much. You really got to just sit there and stew and just think about it and just let it really, really penetrate you and just, but now it's going to turn you into something different. You're going to be forced to turn into something different. But it's only during times like this do we actually see what we're really made of and what life is and just the things that happen. Things could seem very bad, but when you're in there and like you can't get your mind off anything and you're just sitting around, I've always learned, like I've always seen that things always get better, right? Or they'll get better because the situation itself got better, or just because you're just stewing on it for so long. There's only so much your body can hurt and feel the stress of this. If like you're getting pizza out of the oven with just your hand, the first time it's going to hurt. The second time your thin skin's going to be a little thicker and thicker. But it's just like, but the thing that I learned the most is it doesn't matter how bad something gets you, oh, it'll always get better, or your ability to deal with it will get better. So it's almost like the situation got better because people, when they're feeling like that, that's when people become impulsive and go get high and go do this and go do that. But that's the thing you got to learn. And one of the biggest things I've learned being inside is that I don't have to run to go do this or this, that whatever I'm dealing and feeling, it's going to go away one way or another. You know what I mean? So now I just let, like, because sometimes like we play a song, right? So say like you get like a new album, say Kanye's new album or whoever, the hottest, right, whatever. So say you're listening to the tracks on the new album, right? And sometimes we don't play the song all the way through, right? The tape, you got to play the tape all the way through because sometimes the best part of the song is at the end. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And it's only when you're in those places and it gives you patience, which I still don't have, but I got a lot more than I did back then because you know what I mean? But you got to make that time work for you. being in jail and in prison is God taking mercy on you. Recognize it that way and perceive it that way. Your time will be much easier and you'll do much more. You'll do that much more with the time because you know this was, you know, there's a plan that this is a plan within a plan. I planned this for you for these 5 years because this is how long it's going to take for you to get the, you know, the GED, then the associates. You know what I mean? That's the way I recognized it. It had to happen, but you know,
Oh, because had you not went to prison, you would have just kept partying, chilling.
been dead. I would have probably been dead. Like I was bad. Like I was a crackhead. And at the end of '05, I was like 130 pounds. I'm like 170 now. I was like bad. I was snorting heroin. I was a heroin addict. I was a crack addict. Like my soul was gone. If I would have stayed out there, I never put a needle in my arm, but I was very close. God got me right out of there. And, you know, I'm so sorry that, you know, like, it was at the expense of someone's life. You know what I mean? That's the horrible thing about it. And I always said that, you know, that cop that lost his life, the only, I mean, the only choice I have is to think of this guy like he was my angel, like an angel that left the earth so I could prosper. That I don't know. I mean, I know his family's not going to see it like that, but it's a horrible thing all around. You know what I mean? It really
Yeah.
is. It's a horrible thing. But yeah. So you know, it's the free will. Once again, what it comes down to. When you're in jail, you can use it to make you better, or you can use it to make you worse. The choice is yours because you can become much worse in there because you get people in there that are worse than you and they can teach you how to be worse. If that's, you know, like you got the good wolf and the bad wolf. When
Yeah.
you're in jail, you got plenty of, you know, bad wolves that'll help you feed the bad wolf in you. Or do you want to turn to a different side? You know what I mean? I kind of stayed neutral, but I just wanted to, I like to learn new things. And I knew that because I used to tell even some of the younger guys, like, yo, why don't you go to school? Why don't you do your GED? A lot of guys would say, oh, I'll do it when I get home. And I'm like, bro, if you're not doing it here, you're not doing it when you get home. This
No.
is when you have to do it right now. You know, like it's very important.
Because when
So,
they get home, the first thing they want to do is go fuck with bitches. They're not gonna
yeah,
know thinking about school when you get out of jail.
yeah,
You're thinking about going out and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
What
You know,
what is the greatest lesson you learned while locked up?
well, don't do drugs. You
Yeah.
know, even though that's like, it's a lesson that should have learned much sooner. But after I saw the impact that it had on, you know, a whole other family and someone else, and then the impact that it had on my family, forget about me. But, you know, my family went through it too, but I know his family and, you know, obviously went through it much more. But, and like I said, that things always get better, you know, like during that time. You know, like, even though, you know, normally you would think that going to prison is like wasted time, you're just sitting up there, but it doesn't have to be. You can make, you know, I've accomplished many great things when I was there. And, you know, I got my degree and got sober. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those two things are very, very important to me, you know, and have
That's
helped
good
me.
because a lot of people, I've actually seen people go to prison and start doing drugs instead of like the opposite. So each situation's different. I think God's going to keep putting you through the same test because we all get tested like that until you learn. And it's like some people, they learn the first time, and then there's people that learn after never learned. So
Yeah.
God's thing is learn the first time, and then you know you'll get to where you're supposed to go. So it sounds like you just learned the first time you made the mistake. It didn't take you 100 times to learn like a lot of other people.
Well, I did, I did, but it wasn't severe, like, you know, 25 to life facing that. There was other things that I was facing, legal ramifications, but nothing of that, you know, not nothing that severe. So I was like, whatever, what I mean, put me on probation, I don't care. This, that. But then 25 to life is like, you know, that, you know how they say,
Yeah.
it's not the end of the world. 25 to life is the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? So it had to take that, and but I'm glad that, you know, I'm glad that God, you know, hung in there with me and, you know, had the patience with me to see me through all of that, even after everything that happened, for me to once again, you know, I mean, you know, I still do what I love and all that, but it's not that. It's just to be able to have my sanity and be out here and have my freedom again and have the opportunity to help other people. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
saw something today where the guy was saying the villain in the movie they always have them with a scar to show the pain, right? But you could be a villain and say, the world hurt me, so now I want to hurt it back. Or you could be someone who says, the world hurt me, and because of that, I want to make sure now that that doesn't happen to anyone else. You get what I'm saying? So there's
Yeah.
two. So, I mean, go ahead,
What
Rush.
advice would you give your younger self, like if you could speak to yourself right around the time when before any of that stuff happened?
I would have said, slow down, pace yourself. You get what I'm saying? Because, like you were saying before, the guy who wakes up every day and goes to work, he's running a marathon. The other guy that's selling the drugs and all that fast life, he's running a little sprint. But you know what I'm saying? Life is not a sprint. Life is a marathon. And to be able to
Yeah.
get to life, you got to pace yourself. And that's what the main thing that I would have told myself. You need to pace yourself. Because I got in that movie when I was 16. And when that movie came out, that was like the biggest movie around. And people
Yeah.
still love that movie.
You
So,
literally go from not that was your first acting role, and you literally went from your first role to literally being like one of the top actors at the time, like
right,
automatically A-list actor.
right. So it was like a lot, it was a lot, it was a lot to, be able to manage and handle and navigate the right way. At
Yeah.
16 years old, you have
I don't
no
think anybody
experience.
could manage that at 16. That's so like I'm not even prepared for something like that now, let alone at 16, you know? So the fact that you're still here, that says a lot. Like that you're very strong, you have, morals, you have your family support cuz
That's
otherwise
important,
you wouldn't be here anymore.
right? Support is always. It's my cousin. He's in recovery as well, and he, he's got good parents. I got good parents, and we're both sober, and we always attribute the fact that because we see so many that can't get sober, but you know what I mean, and we look at it and attribute a lot of our, being able to get to this point in recovery to our support system. You need that support. You know what I mean? It's very vital in overcoming and being in successful recovery.
Was it do you think the neighborhood you grew up in or just your lifestyle? Because I grew up also in a neighborhood where all besides me and like two other people, everybody died of drugs or
Where
ended
you,
up
where
in
are you
prison.
from? Where are you from?
Brighton Beach.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
So literally all my friends, besides three of us made it out. Everybody died from drugs. There was like a oxycodone epidemic. There was a angel dust that I never got to try that because I see my homegirl do it and she started freaking out. So I was like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'll
But
pass on that.
yeah, that should look scary. I stuck to like weed and alcohol, but then you could get addicted to anything. You don't like I'm also like I have an addictive personality because my mom was a drug addict and left me when I was 5 and my dad raised me by himself. So I know that you don't have to be from the hood, like, or the people think like, oh, like you're not from the hood, like you act like it was so bad growing up there. I'm like, no, 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 it doesn't have to be a hood. It's like every neighborhood has its problems, and some
Yeah,
neighborhoods
yeah.
are just bad when it
No,
comes to
that
drugs.
kind of stuff doesn't discriminate. Russians, Italians, Colombians,
Yeah,
Jamaicans, everybody within their cultures, there's addiction. It's inevitable. We Brighton Beach. I did a show back in the day for CBS. It was called Falcone. It was the Donnie Brasco series. Because of the Columbine shooting, we got out. Like the show got picked up, but the way that because of the Columbine shooting, we had to push it, and then we showed it like 9 nights in a row. It didn't get the ratings. If they would have showed it as a series, we would have done better. But we shot the pilot. We shot a scene in Brighton Beach, literally coming right off the boardwalk, like
yeah,
the two sides. One guy, like, I'm coming down, like these guys come down, and then the camera goes, and it was right there in the heart of Brighton Beach. I remember
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
because I
Brighton
know
Beach.
you
A
got a
lot
New
of
York
movies
accent.
got shot there. Oh, the Requiem for a Dream got shot there too.
It's a great movie.
It's amazing. It's fucked
Yeah, yeah,
up, but it's one of those
yeah,
movies that you watch it and you're like, damn, it's so
yeah,
true.
yeah. Yeah,
Anyone, whether it could be your mom, your homeboy, your girlfriend, like everyone has a drug of choice, and it's whether you act on it or not. Because
right, right. Well,
we
yeah,
all, it's not just one. Everybody has a something that they want, and it's like you got to fight every day not to take it.
right. Well, whatever it is whether it's drugs. Some people are shoppers. Some people go to the store.
Gambling,
Yeah, some
women,
people go to the store 20 times a day with the scratch offs. It's something that
yeah,
is a that is
like a
you know
compulsion.
well, no, that's a solution to them. because they don't have a better solution. So they go self destruct. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, that's not the problem. Not the gambling or the sex or the shopping or the drugs. That's not the problem. The problem is whatever they're dealing with, which drove them to do that. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So you got to find out what it is. But that lady was on the diet pills. Remember the fen in Requiem for a Dream?
Yo. And
Yeah,
she starts hallucinating,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
yo, I felt so bad because it's like,
You
but
that does
those
happen.
drugs are the worst. The ones the doctors give you are way worse than anything you could get on the street.
But those like because those are stimulants and cocaine and meth and that kind of stuff. You do experience psychosis. I have to where you do too much and you start like seeing like shadows in the wall and you get like weary of it. Like so that kind of stuff is 100% real. I like that filmmaker very much. His name is
Yeah.
Darren Aronofsky. He directed Requiem for a Dream. He directed Black Swan. He directed The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. I got to say that guy. He's one of my favorite filmmakers right now. Darren
Who would you want
Aronofsky.
to work with today? Like if
It,
today
that
you could
that
him?
guy right there,
Okay.
Darren Aronofsky's definitely. I mean, of course, I would always. I mean, Scorsese, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Spielberg, guys like that. So many, but Aronofsky, I'm a really big fan of his work. Did you ever see The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke?
Yeah, when it first came out.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Like
Yeah.
that was just like really, really well shot. His acting was like, on a different level in that movie, in that film.
Which
Yeah.
actor would you want to work with? Like alongside?
Do you mean from just all time, or
Like this guy's directing a show and he tells you, who do you want to be your co-host? One male, one female. Who do you want it to be?
oh, in a film? You mean
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah. If tomorrow they're making a movie, you're the star, but they're asking you, who else should we cast? Who do you want to play your son? Who do you want to play your girlfriend? Basically, like
No,
you
well,
get
if it
to
was
pick.
another actor, an actor, I like Christian Bale. Christian Bale's
Yeah.
very. I would say guys like De Niro, Denzel, but I worked with them already. I'm not trying to sound like no
Yeah,
hot
you already
shot.
worked with like the top.
Yeah, I'm not trying to sound like no hot shot or bragging, but I worked with those guys because those guys. But a guy from like today, I like Christian Bale. Christian Bale's like real. Oh, you know who? Gary Oldman.
Okay.
Gary Oldman. You know who he is?
The
He's so
comedian?
no Gary Oldman. He's so different. Did you ever see The Professional? Remember with the little girl?
Why does that sound familiar? What is it about?
The Professional. The hitman lives down the hall from the little girl. His name is Leon. Leon. Remember
No, I don't
the
think I watched that. I'm not even gonna lie
Nat,
to you.
Natalie Portman's the little girl, and her whole
Okay.
family gets killed by these crazy crooked cops. And
Yeah.
then the hitman down the hall, he takes a light because he wants to save the little girl. You know what I'm saying? Gary Oldman, he's the pill popping crazy cop, but he was also in. Did you ever see True Romance?
No. Gary Oldman. I'm
Gary
literally
Oldman
looking.
he's so different in every film. You don't even know it's the same actor. He's like a real life chameleon. He just like that's who I would say. Probably Gary Oldman. That's tremendous.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, you know who he is, right?
yeah, of
He's played
course.
Dracula, both.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's the shit. Holy
yeah,
shit. Well,
no
okay.
joke.
I mean, it's hard to say because if you the first your first role is literally every actor's dream. Not even because every person that doesn't even believe they could be an actor. If I could play a movie with somebody, it would be Robert De Niro. It's like
Yeah.
so it's hard to go from there. What about yeah? So female would it be Natalie Portman?
Natalie Portman's great. You know who I like? I like Charlize. Char-
Yeah,
Charlize Theron, how she says it. I love that. I would say one of I really liked her in that movie Monster. Did you ever see when she in that movie
of
Monster?
course.
Yeah,
Yeah, because everyone kept saying she made herself look ugly. I
yeah.
thought it was such a good movie.
Oh, unbelievable! Just the way she did her hair, just the way she was flicking her hair, she looked like that white trash. She pulled that. She's so beautiful and the fact that she was able to convince you that she was that person. Like it wasn't like she convinced.
Yeah.
There was not one time in that film, me watching that performance, that I say, nah, that's not right. It was unbelievable. I couldn't believe that she was able to transform from this beautiful woman into this like crazy looking serial killer, traumatized, damaged woman that was killing all these men because it was very
Yeah.
convincing. Yeah.
and she still kind of looked hot in a weird way. I don't know.
Yeah. That's funny.
Like I'm like, damn, I still hit, but damn, like, so right now, would you want to do a comedy, maybe keep doing
Yeah.
mafia movie, or rather like a act or a scary, like scary fucked up horror movie?
Well, as far as like, the organized crime films, I want to like, I mean, listen, if Smart Scorsese came to me and said, hey, we got, of course, but generally those are kind of like the films I want to stay away from. Not that I don't like them. They're some of my
Damn.
favorite films, but I just think as an actor, it wouldn't help me to keep doing things that people already know I can do. Because
Yeah,
it's like, all right, what's the, like, they may never look at you again after they see you do something that they already know you can do. They're like, oh, this guy, all right, that's all he does. You know what I mean? Let's do it. But I think it's just a horror movie would be great. I've never done something like that. I really like psychological stuff. I co-wrote
yeah,
this film called Sleepyhead that we're trying to get it out by Halloween. We're in like legal. We're in court right now with it. The other guy I wrote it with and all that. But that's like psychological. I want to make films that make people think. You know what I mean? Whatever. I'm an
yeah,
actor, so I really like to. I feel the only way I'm going to grow as an actor is to really like challenge myself to play these roles where I'm not comfortable. Like, damn, how the hell am I going to do this? How the hell am I going to get prepared? In 2 weeks we start shooting. You know what I mean? That's the kind
yeah,
of stuff that takes you to that next level. But when you're comfortable playing the same thing over and over, I mean, for me, I don't, I'm not interested in doing it. I'd rather
yeah,
not do it at all, almost. You know what I mean? Where I just want to keep moving, like doing as different things as possible. You know.
yeah. No, I agree. So I always ask this question at the end to everybody. What's your message to the kids?
Well, like I said to the same thing I would tell my younger self: don't grow up too fast. Enjoy life. Enjoy
Yeah,
every second of it, because this time, these moments, we never get this back. So really, really look at life as a marathon. Pace yourself. Don't grow up too fast, because when you do, you miss out on so many beautiful things in life that you could have really enjoyed. But now you're at an age where it's not age appropriate to enjoy anymore. You got to do things and enjoy them as they come, because it doesn't come back. So really pace yourself and think of life as a marathon.
wow. I thank you again so much. Like, I really appreciate you for coming on. And I know a lot of people, when they see this, they're going to take a lot from this interview and a lot of lessons, a lot of great advice. Thank you 100 times.
I appreciate that. Thank you for having me on.
All right, guys. We had a legend on our show today.
All right.
So thank you to him. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thank you again.
Ciao.